Thank you, Councillor Luloff. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you very much, Mayor. 18 months ago in this very room, we denied granting an MSR for this project. That decision was unanimous, and it was based on the same concerns I'm hearing today from the community where this is proposed. Then the IESO did something that they have said they will never do again. They granted a contract to a proposal where the community very clearly demonstrated that it was uncomfortable with the scale, location, and risk-benefit analysis, and where an MSR was denied by this council. The IESO then granted the company 20 months to find that support and approve their proposal to get that MSR. And I'll give the company some credit that they looked for a new location to try and find and demonstrate that support. But the community most impacted by this installation has reached out in overwhelming numbers to demonstrate they remain uncomfortable with what is being proposed and where it is being proposed. And not one single other municipality in Ontario has been put in this position we find ourselves in today. And frankly, it's not fair to my ward and to those who call it home, or to those of you who have been asked to support this. This should bother everyone who sits around this table. My message today is a fairly simple one. My community is not a bunch of NIMBYs or rural residents who are resistant to change. We understand that for a multitude of reasons, we must diversify our sources of energy and strengthen our grid with technologies such as battery energy storage. If you took the time to watch the ARAC meeting last Thursday, where we heard from 70 delegates, you would have heard some concerns raised by locals around fire and emergency response, location, well water contamination, as well as some deep disappointment in the consultation process. But what you didn't hear even once was a single Ward 5 resident say there is no place for this technology in our city or even in our rural areas. No one said, we don't think the idea of storing power at off-peak times and giving it back to the grid at peak demand is an idea worth exploring. What they did say was our simple questions have not been answered. They said this is not the place for a project of this nature. How will a fire be handled? How would we evacuate the adjacent community with one road in and one road out? They asked, can we see the results of the studies you claimed were completed? These questions were never answered. Not only have they not been answered, but the process promised to my residents from the applicant was sidestepped with a walk-on motion brought here 2 weeks ago to satisfy the demands of the provincial government to the benefit of the applicant. I will never accept that what has occurred here over the last 2 weeks was in any way appropriate or acceptable. Not a single person has been able to explain to me why this needed to happen in June, and even more concerning is why we needed to waive the rules of procedure to do it. 8 months does not constitute something that is time sensitive. Without any real explanation, we are left to fill in the blanks ourselves. And I got an email yesterday from a constituent who found the LT1 contract details, and it does appear that there are bonus clauses for having this done early to the tune of $83,000 a day. It is, of course, actions like this that reinforce the feeling that residents have that their voice doesn't matter and that the consultation process is meaningless. It isn't just 2,000 residents who have signed a petition, which includes the signature of my predecessor. It's the Friends of the Carp Hills, the Ontario Farmers Association local chapter. It's the Ottawa Carleton Wildlife Centre, which I know many of you work with regularly, the Carleton Landowners Association. When we talked at the first Rural Summit in 16 years about making sure the rural voice is heard, this is exactly what we were talking about. If West Carleton was its own municipality, this project would not get an MSR for this location. In this case, the rural voice is clear, and it isn't saying no to BESS. It's saying no to this applicant in this location, and I will ask you to vote no against the MSR to let this process play out as originally planned, and let them find a proper location for a project of this scale. Rather than shoving this down the throat of Ward 5, let's ensure that what we said at the Rural Summit is more than just lip service. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly.